Welcome back, rankers. I had a couple of interesting questions this week, which I will deal with, and some have come through actually search, which they haven't asked me directly. They've just typed the question into search, and yeah, I can answer that question for them, even though the site at the time didn't actually show it when they hit our site. But first of all, I want to show you sometimes that Google is actually broken. And quite often we get clients saying to us, yeah, but look at that site over there. You know, that site hasn't got any content. Why should we have to have any content? And my response wants to be, well, if that site was to jump off the cliff with you, would you? But I can't say that. But I want to show you sometimes that Google will rank things temporarily that probably shouldn't. And sometimes it will show you things with its data that are just completely wrong. Case in point, our own site, startmedia.biz, and you can see here I'm in search traffic under search queries. And this is quite often a useful tool to see, you know, what you're appearing for in search, what it may be as some of the low-hanging fruit that because you can search by or sort by the average position, which is your ranking, and you can say, hey, show me, you know, all the phrases that are on the front page or maybe just on page 2, and it'll give you sort of not 100% accurate impressions, but it'll give you an idea of the impressions over a period of time for that search. So quite often you can find phrases there that you're on page 2 for, that you didn't even know you were ranking for, but there's heaps of traffic for, but you won't be getting any clicks, and you can optimize those phrases, get them onto the front page and start getting clicks. Great. But then sometimes Google will do things like this and say, hey, you know what, Jim? You had 8,000 impressions on Sunday of all days for your site appearing in search. Unfortunately, you had less than 10 clicks. Well, Google to you, I say bollocks. That's just not true. And the reason I know that is because our average appearing in search on a weekday is around 1,500 to 1,600. As you can see there, on the weekend we always drop because we're a business site, right? There is no way known we got 8,000 impressions on a Sunday in search. And certainly we didn't get any clicks for that, so which would be normal on a Sunday. So what you can do then is you can say, okay, well, show me the changes in impressions. And you can see here, we're down 46% for one, but up here, we're up an infinite amount, meaning that previously to this period, and I'm only doing a week's period here. I'm only doing a very short time frame. But you know, it's only had 600 impressions in total, nowhere near the 8,000. We've got a few of those infinities here, but it just nowhere near adds up to the 8,000 that Google is saying. So what I did then was I wanted to go and have a look at Google Analytics to see, well, is there anything in Google Analytics to show me? The only phrase that I came up with, which was interesting, was how to check SERP ranking from Melbourne, which is an interesting question. Okay, they didn't ask me directly, but nearly 90 people have asked that question in just over the last month, and just so happens it coincided when we started to rank for that phrase, you can see here, because I wrote that page where I mentioned something about Melbourne SERPs, and hey, bingo, number 1 and number 2, because no one else is trying to rank for that phrase, even though it gets about 90 searches a month, which is nice. I don't know whether we've got any business out of that, but I wanted to tell you, how do you check your rankings in various cities? Because remember, since May 3rd, it's become very important to know that, especially if you're an e-commerce site and you don't have people actually come into your building, you don't have a retail shop front as such, you're all totally online business. And if you go and have a look here, this is a site, a search that we did the other week. We're searching for mortgage broker. At the moment, you can see here, I'm doing search results for Adelaide. So to find out what is ranking in Adelaide, I'm in Google Chrome, incognito, so it removes any of the customization that may be occurring because I'm logged into Google, and it's just giving me, it's removing cookies and all those sorts of things, and it's just showing me some clean search results. So I'm saying, Google, show me the results for Adelaide, South Australia for the phrase mortgage broker, and you can see here we've got Adelaide addresses here. This guy here, he hasn't set up his Google Places properly because he hasn't got a web address there. He's got Google's web address there. So you need to go and do that. And you will start to see commonalities and then things that are wildly different. The common ones will be this gov.au site, Wikipedia, and aussie.com.au. And also up the top here, mortgagechoice.com.au. And you can see here we've got various different mortgage sites, and we've got choice.com.au. And then if we go to Melbourne and check that, you can see we've still got mortgage choice up here. We've got that mortgage broker melbourne.net.au, which was the site that had those really great links that were hidden on other people's sites that we showed you last week. And then they are there again. So they've got 2 spots in essentially the top 5 for a really, really competitive phrase. But you can see down here, you know, we've got different forums, and then you've got that gov.au, and that'll be different for around the country. Now, the reason it's important to understand this, if you're an e-commerce site, is that if you've got certain town names or place names embedded on the site somewhere, and you may find that Google is either using that to say, oh, you must be a result for that town, and therefore you're not, we shouldn't look at you as a national brand. And it can also, so it can actually help or hurt you depending on how the address is on the site or how the town names are on the site. It can even, if you're not using structured data, we've even seen some clients rank for, say, a city which they're not located in, and they'll come up in this sort of local search, but because they mention the city name in the actual brand or the model of a product, it's using the city name. So it's become really weird since May 3rd. So you've got to be careful if you're an e-commerce site, especially to check, and that's how you do it from city to city. Now, just on this mortgage broker melbourne.net.au, the site that was getting great backlinks from was this one here, jesandco.org. And if you remember, they're a non-profit organisation dedicated to the 21st century education of youth, which is fantastic, right? Great. I've emailed them today to say, hey, why have you got backlinks like this to sites called electroniccigarettebrands.org? I mean, you know, electronic cigarettes have got to be better than the real thing for kids, right? Yeah, of course they do. And then they've got this one over here, this Spanish site, grow shops. I thought, you know, it's got to be something about gardening for kids or something like that for youth. And you can see here, this is jesandco.org. And so if you click on that page, and you can go and find out, and it is, in fact, about growing things. It is, in fact, about gardening, which is really interesting. And I believe, you know, kids love this stuff. So, you know, you've got to be careful. If you're a site out there and you're taking backlinks and you're selling your brand, essentially, or your page rank is what you're really doing, to other sites if you're selling backlinks. And it can reflect badly on your brand. I mean, I'm sure, you know, I've seen the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation mentioned on this site. I've seen Dell mentioned on this site. I've seen a lot of big corporation names on this site. Now, you know, that's possibly, you know, a perfectly legal thing to do, a perfectly legal site in Spain. Got no idea. It's all in euros, but I don't know if you want to have it linked from your site, which is about the 21st century education of youth. So these are the sorts of things that Google still has to fix up. This page here, for instance, has got a page rank of 5 out of 10, and that's just their contact page, right? So these are the sorts of things that have come up, if you like, these sorts of sites since Penguin. And so we've seen Google come in and they've looked for patterns or real easy things to find where backlinking has been incredibly spammy, and they've just come in and gone smack. The next phase has to be working out a lot of these other sites going through and working out, you know, how do we stop these backlinks? Because really, they're not there for the user. They're not there for normal traffic to that lovely grow shop site. They're there purely to give backlink juice to the target site. So that's the next thing Google has to set up. But remember, go and check your Google Webmaster Tools, your search traffic, get a lot of good stuff out of there. And that's how you check your different city rankings. And that is it for this week. Hopefully that's helpful, and we'll see you next week. Thanks very much. Bye.